I got to ask you about China. This was quite a story this week. So the news emerges, and my pals over at National Review did a great podcast on this. At the editors love Rich Lowry and his team. But in August, China tested a hypersonic missile that apparently circled the globe one time. It missed its target, but that's not a big deal. That's kind of why you do the tests, I guess. And the Financial Times says that our intel officials were, quote, shocked because we are way behind. We do not have this weaponry. And while the Chinese have sort of been advanced when it comes to manufacturing and some other things, weaponry was always our thing. So the problem is with these weapons, they're very fast, they're unpredictable, and there's no ability to track them or to shoot them down. In addition, I'm told that they could come at us from the South Pole, where we're very exposed as a nation. We haven't fortified that, an attack from the South Pole. So this is not good. This is bad news that China's at this point. And this comes on the heels of news this week that a top cybersecurity official at the Pentagon, Nicholas Chalain, just quit, saying we've got no competing fighting chance against China when it comes to the tech war. We've already lost it. Our AI program is at the kindergarten level. All right, so we're not doing well. So Jen Psaki gets asked about this at the White House, and listen to her response.
And then can you comment on reports that China tested a nuclear-capable hypersonic missile over the summer to the surprise of U.S. officials?
And we have been consistent in our approach with China. We welcome stiff competition, but we do not want that competition to veer into conflict.
What? We welcome stiff competition when it comes to nuclear weapons that could annihilate millions of Americans?
Well, and I tell you, the way that you prevent competition from becoming conflict, Megyn, is that you show the authoritarian Chinese government that we will win any conflict that they might choose to engage in. And this is what really worries me about what we're seeing in China, what we're seeing in East Asia, is you see a Beijing government, a communist government that feels emboldened. They look at the catastrophe in Afghanistan. They look at the debacle Joe Biden led us into there, and they think, oh boy, this American government is weak. And now you see them testing hypersonics. Now you see them flying over Taiwan. They've flown a record number of sorties over Taiwan. That's very deliberate, Megyn. They're telling us that, hey, we're on the attack, we're on the offensive, and you, America, can't stop us. We're going to be the global superpower. There's nothing you can do to stop us. We've got to send the message back that we're not going to be intimidated, and that we are going to stand up to them, and we're not just going to roll over. But I'm afraid Joe Biden is sending just the opposite message.
Yes, because we are not sending that message in any way. We're welcoming them to the party. I'm stuck on my friends at National Review because I thought their podcast is kicking it off on this was so good. Charles C.W. Cook, basically my summary of his response was, is she insane? But listen to him.
Why on earth would we welcome this competition? It's not a market. You might welcome competition in the smartphone arena. You might welcome competition if you're a restaurant. You might welcome competition if you make microchips because you want the overall industry to advance. You might realize that it keeps you sharp, keeps you on your toes. The competition here, though, comes in the form of a missile designed to incinerate millions of Americans. We shouldn't want that competition. We should be embarrassed that it exists.
I mean, couldn't have said it better myself, but we're getting a very different message from our president and his spokesperson.
You know, what strikes me about this, Megyn, is the policy of this administration towards China is really one of appeasement. There's just no other way to put it. You look at economically, what have we heard out of this administration over and over? Oh, well, we want engagement with China. We're not going to stand up to them anymore, whether they're cheating on their trade agreements, taking our jobs, stealing our technology. We want engagement. We need them. I mean, literally, that's what administration officials said. We need China. Militarily, the same thing. We are appeasing them. This is an imperial power. The Beijing government is imperial in nature. They want to expand. They want to control East Asia. From there, they want to reach out and project their power all around the world. There's only one country on the face of the earth that can stop them from doing that. It's the United States of America. And we have to stop them because if we don't, they're going to impoverish our country. They're going to take away the rest of our jobs. They're going to take all of our domestic manufacturing capability. And we'll ultimately have to ask them for permission to do X, Y, Z. That is not acceptable to us. And Joe Biden needs to wake up to those facts right quick.
we thought we were going to change them. You know, we trade with China and we're going to influence the way they live. And anything but has happened. Perhaps the opposite has happened. They've influenced us. And you see this, you see sort of the downside of it in so many areas, from the weaponry to the supply chain. And I know you've been jumping up and down about this, but one of the things all those ships lined up to get in and the delay in the cargo shipments has had a lot of regular folks asking is, why are we so dependent on China? Why are all the goods out on those ships? What about American made? You're actually asking some of those same questions.
Yeah, and I think it's time that we started acting like the strong country we are. I mean, Joe Biden is acting like we're so weak. We've got to ask China for permission. We've got to ask we got to beg OPEC for oil and for energy for this country. I mean, let's get real. Here's what I would do, Megyn. Here's what I propose to do. I think we ought to say that any critical good or critical supply chain, you've got to make the majority of it in this country. So if we identify a good that's critical to us, whether that's medical supplies, whether that's vaccines, maybe it's computer chips, steel, you've got to make over half of it in this country in order to sell it in this country. You know what
no
that
matter
would
where
do?
you're based.
No matter where you're based. Yes, ma'am. No matter where you're based. So these overseas companies, multinationals, you want to have access to our market, then you've got to make most of it in the United States if it's a critical good to us. That would bring jobs back to our country. It would enhance our national security, and it would send the message to countries like China, we're not going to lay down for you. We're not going to let you walk all over us. We're going to look to our own strength, secure our own jobs, and in a crisis like COVID, we're not going to be dependent on foreign nations and foreign enemies anymore.